Hey, friends. It's my favorite part of the week. It's Tuesday, 10 a.m. here Eastern time, and it's time for Private Club Radio Live. And it's going to be a good one because I have two awesome guests that are about to join us today. We're going to be chatting with Jackie Carpenter of Private Club Advisor. And Jackie, if you've never heard her, she comes on each year here on Private Club Radio. She's been doing it since we started the podcast. And every year, she always comes up with these amazing ideas and trends that are happening in the industry. So she's our trend spotter here on Private Club Radio. She's going to do it for the first time live. So go easy on her. But if you've got some questions, she'll be happy to answer them. After that, we're going to be joined by Brian Friedrichs of Capstone Hospitality. And Brian's going to share with us how to fund capital projects without assessing the members. So this is an episode your members will absolutely love, and you will too, because you can be the hero by taking Brian's advice here. So we're going to have a lot of fun on today's show. Again, doing this live, the great part of it is you get to ask our experts questions in real time. So don't be shy. If you've got something you'd like to ask throughout the show here, they will be happy to answer it. Before we bring Jackie on, she'll be on in just a couple minutes. I want to thank our sponsors, Restream.io, the platform that we use right here. Visit us, privateclubradio.com/restream. You can learn all about the platform that we're using to go live here on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and YouTube simultaneously. Have this one-on-one kind of Q&A experience that you'll get to have, and get to play videos. The platform is absolutely incredible. I can't say enough good things about it. You can purchase the platform, but you can actually just try it for free and see if it works. I think it'd be a great way for you to host your next kind of group presentation for the club, for your membership. I love Restream and what they're doing. So check them out, privateclubradio.com/restream. Also want to thank Concert Golf Partners, longtime supporter of this show. Peter Nanula comes on each month to share with us how to better manage your board, and he will be on next week with us again. Peter and his team are helping clubs all over the country recapitalize. So if you know of a club in financial trouble, Peter and his team are ones that they should talk to. We'll be joined by Brian here shortly of Capstone Hospitality. But if you don't know Capstone, they help with membership sales. So if you're looking to drive more members here in 2021, take advantage of all those people out there in your community who are looking for a place to entertain themselves and have your club really explode. Brian and his team will be the ones you've got to contact in order to do that. Brian will be sharing with us very, very shortly. But without further ado, I'm going to bring on our featured guest of the week, Miss Jackie Carpenter of the Private Club Advisor. Jackie.
Hey, everybody.
Hey.
How you doing, Jackie?
I'm well, Gabe. How are you?
Oh, man, it's good to be with you. This
Thanks.
is the first time we've gotten to do it over video. We've done it.
I know. Thank you.
But video.
I'm glad people are going to go easy on me. So.
Yeah, they will. So first off, just love to kind of get your take on what's happening in the world of private clubs from a 40,000-foot view right now.
Yeah, it's been an interesting year. I mean, really, we're coming up on a year of craziness. I had a little Facebook reminder that about a year ago, last week, we were in Dallas for the CMAA conference, and it was like a week or two after that the world basically started falling apart. So crazy. But yeah, it's been good, Gabe, and I think it's really been such an awesome, last year for clubs to shine and become even more important in the lives of members and even employees too. I really feel like clubs, those that have done it well, those that have really kind of stepped up and taken it on, have just done such a great job. I'm really proud of the industry, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I am too. There's been so many great stories, and we featured a number of them here on the show last year. Baltimore Yacht Club comes to mind. Just a lot of folks doing some incredible things for their staff and for the members, and really seeing the membership kind of gel and come together. It's been really great to see. Any particular clubs that you've seen, or any trends that you've noticed? Clubs really doing things well here over the last year.
There's been so many. I mean, and early on in the pandemic, obviously, there were, the to-go things where people implemented like curbside carryout in a week. I mean, normal times that would have taken months and months and it had taken years,
Right.
for clubs to like figure it out. And then when push came to shove, it was like, well, we have to do this, so we got to make it work. So I think that's been such a cool thing for clubs to be able to like bring the club to members in their homes, I just think has been so special. Activities to go for kids, seniors, boxes of activities for seniors to take home and to do, not counting all of I've been doing workouts at home with different clubs that live stream, or share videos of workout tips. Farmington Country Club did in
They're always on
Charlottesville.
the cutting edge, by the way.
Yes,
Yeah.
they are doing such great stuff. And early on, they would send out kind of their weekly newsletter, and it always contained something for the kids to do at home. And we made Play-Doh with my daughter at home, and we did all kinds of cool stuff from what they were sending out to their members. And it's just been such awesome things that have really come out of it. I love the idea, and now I can't remember which club it was, but you probably know, Gabe, doing tutoring at the club for the kids, and they kind of set up little individual workspaces for kids to get out of the house, but come to the club to do, virtual school at the club. So just a way to break it up. And I mean, honestly, clubs have just been such a great place for members to get out of their home and to just be able to go somewhere safe and comfortable, and yet still have some experiences. But again, staying safe. So
I've been doing it at my club. Both my sons are now taking golf lessons, and it's really nice because one's taking a lesson and I can be on the putting green, the chipping green with my other one. My wife's up, maybe having a glass of wine after work or something. And we can have a few conversations with people, but not necessarily be right next to them too. And it's been really nice to do that. You get more of like have you seen that there's more of like a community atmosphere maybe at clubs these days?
absolutely. Absolutely. I think the community, and that's kind of why I say with the staff too, that it's really enhanced, because we need that connection game. I mean, I think that's something that we have certainly all taken for granted. And then with COVID, we all realize when you're stuck at home and you don't see anybody, or, you don't have those opportunities to connect, how important it really is. And so being able to even connect virtually, worst case, where different committee meetings or board meetings are happening, but clubs have been doing, cocktail hours or little small whiskey tastings, at home, where my husband's club did like a tequila tasting, and they sent the tequila home, and then everybody joined on, socially or virtually. They could be social and do a tequila tasting together, and everyone was kind of giggling and laughing that they're, doing this online, but yet they still had that connection, right?
And you don't need a designated driver to do it either.
Right, right. And I think they even did it late enough. The kids were in bed already, so you didn't even need a babysitter. I mean, kind of a win-win-win.
Yeah, one of my favorite stories is the Players Club up in Manhattan. In their club, they've got a number of different rooms. So they have the library room, they've got the grill room downstairs, they've got a few other rooms around the club. And what they would actually do is use they were using Zoom, and they'd create like little breakouts, because you can create like a breakout room within Zoom, and they'd actually have the library room, then the grill. So you felt like you were, even though you couldn't walk through the doors of the club, you were kind of with, you were hanging out the different areas of the club that you might normally do it. I thought that was really cool. Eric Bischoffberger asked, was the tutoring at Champions Run? Do you remember that club?
They might have done it because they're always incredibly innovative. Ben Lorenzen over at Champions Run. I think it was a club in Florida, though. Okay. Eric, thank you. And hi, Eric. So I think it was the one I'm thinking of anyway, but I was really impressed just with the evolution, So, right. And Gabe, I really think 2021 is going to be a year of experimenting for clubs, because we're obviously not back to normal, and we hoped that we would be. Right. And who knows how long it's going to be until we are, in fact, semi-normal, or what we think of as normal.
Latest I heard is maybe the by July or something, in terms of, at least here in the United States, of getting vaccines to anyone who wants one. But it's a moving target, like you said.
It is a moving target. You're absolutely right. And so I think this experimentation thing of what members really are looking for and what they want, I keep kind of looking ahead to summer, and I don't know really. I mean, what you said, July. Well, who knows? When we get to June, we might find out it's going to be October. We don't know what it's going to be. Exactly. That's sort of been the trend, right? With COVID, it just keeps getting pushed back.
Your point there is completely valid, though, is you have to think 2 steps ahead. And I think for a long time, the industry maybe wasn't necessarily doing that. They were kind of handling things in the moment. But now we are starting to see that innovation in clubs that are thinking ahead, and starting to plan for alternate possibilities. And I think in a way that's been really good for clubs. Any particular or other stories or any particular clubs or parts of the world you've seen do it really well, Jackie?
Yeah, well, I just have like a couple interesting things. I'm a big Frank Vane fan. Everybody probably knows that, but really talking about multifunctional spaces and using event spaces in different ways, kind of repurposing them a little bit. Because again, events, small gatherings, but if you're a club and you have a great big huge ballroom or several big ballrooms, odds are you're probably not really going to be using them, at least not all at the same time. So
Sure.
what can we be doing to still use those spaces or to create opportunities for members to gather, maybe in smaller groups, more spread out, those kinds of things, and really provide some new activities for clubs? Gabe, I think simulators are going to be the thing in 2021 for clubs. I think I wrote about it 2 years ago that, clubs needed to be doing this and kind of
Right.
revisiting this over the last year or so. But
Yep.
I think that's going to be the next really big thing, because you can do it safely and it's still a new opportunity, a new amenity for clubs. And it's also something that gets all ages involved. So I think
true.
are you seeing that, Gabe, as well? The simulator is kind of
I don't know
hot.
if I am, but I think it's a fantastic idea. And as you know, I've been preaching that for years as well. I think that
Right.
there's no excuse, especially if your club's up north,
Yes.
and you're going to have winter months where maybe you shut the club down normally. Why not have an extra revenue stream throughout the winter? You
Absolutely.
probably don't need much staff for something like that, but yeah, I love it. I think you're right. You're going to have to do some creative things with that space, especially if you're not holding big weddings and banquets here in 2021.
Yeah.
What are some creative ways to use that space? Any other creative ways to use those big
Well,
banquet halls, Jackie?
yeah, right. So I think, I've got a couple other things that I kind of think are interesting, Gabe, that I'll share, give a few nuggets away here.
Sweet. All
Um,
right.
but so simulators, I think, are going to be big because they're fairly inexpensive in the grand scheme. But
Right.
I think sort of one of the big trends that I think we will see in 2021 is clubs doing small things that add a big impact. And so a simulator, great example, where they're not that expensive. They add a lot of variety. I mean, you could do a kids movie night if you wanted to, or you could rent them out for, kids birthday parties and, do things with that in addition to the whole golf thing if you want.
Right. Yep.
Bocce ball, pickleball is quite hot and, again, fairly inexpensive for people to put in at a club, especially if you already have tennis courts. So I think those types of things, even ice skating rinks, I know we're kind of on the back end of, well, I hope we're on the back end of
Yeah.
winter. I'm in the
What
middle.
did the Beavers say this year on February 2nd?
We've had about 14 days of negative whatever. So I
Oh,
hope
gosh.
we're on the back end of winter. But, ice skating rinks or cross country skiing and, winter, kind of more winter activities.
Right.
Mark Beto over at Myers Park sent a video the other day of sledding at Myers Park where they
Nice.
crushed ice down a hill. And there they were.
Cool.
I mean, all these kinds of cool activities to really get things kind of branching out. And then and Eric, you'll love this. This actually came from Ben Lorenzen at Champions Run, and this was a pre-COVID activity, but I love it so much, and I think it's such a great idea for this coming summer when we don't really know what it's going to look like. But they did a sandcastle day at Champions Run, and around on the pool deck, they used plastic, plastic pools, filled them with sand, and had all different sand toys. So they had all these different sandcastle locations around the pool deck, and the kids could go and build a sandcastle for the day. Now, I think they only did it for like a day or a weekend, but I'm sitting there going, what a cool activity. You could have people drop off their, sandcastle toys when they're done playing in the sandbox in a sanitizer thing and bring out you check out your tools and check them back in. But sand is a cool, cheap, especially if you have a golf course, you already have sand. So, what kind of activities, can we really bring to a club that are inexpensive, but they're going to add a lot of value? It's a whole nother layer of activities for people with families to come and hang out at the club and still do it safely. So I think there's going to be some more interesting and creative things, Gabe, that come out of this year, really frankly. So
Right. And I would think that if you've got something really creative happening at your club, Jackie would absolutely love to hear about it. So let's talk
please.
about the Private Club Advisor before we leave. And first off, tell us about the newsletter, maybe how folks can get and subscribe to it.
Absolutely. Yep. So our website is privateclubadvisor.com. We're OR, not ER, so Private Club Advisor. And you can go on there and read a couple samples. You can see our blog, and you can also sign up for the newsletter there, or you can always email me. It's Jackie, Jackie, at privateclubadvisor.com. And yeah, our newsletter, and I've got one right here actually, super simple, 4-page format. It's easy. You can read it in 15 minutes, which I know time is of the essence for so many busy managers. So this is a great publication for industry trends, what's happening. The Private Club Advisor is really geared towards general managers and board members. So kind of the high level, big picture things. And then we also have the PCA Plus, which is a bi-monthly newsletter for general managers and their management teams, kind of more hands-on operations and things like that. Coming for our March issue, Gabe, I'll do a little shout out. I was able to interview Jeff Morgan, Kim Pasquale, and Melissa Lowe at CMAA about the upcoming virtual, first ever virtual World Conference for CMAA. And so our lead article in the March issue is talking about what the virtual conference is really going to look like, because obviously it's going to be new for the whole industry, but I think it's really going to be great and really exciting. So that's a little bit about the PCA.
Fantastic. It's a fantastic publication. Every time I see one come across my desk, I enjoy reading it. Always great articles. And like you said, it's nice, quick, easy read. You don't have to spend, it's not like reading a white paper. You're going to spend a couple hours of your day. You can kind of absorb a lot of goodness in a really compact amount of time. And I think it's a great work that you guys are doing over there, Jackie. I appreciate it so much. Like I said, that 15 minutes goes by super quick. So the great ideas that you share with us, and thanks for coming on Private Club Radio Live with us.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me, Gabe. Bye, everybody. Thanks for listening.
Bye, Jackie. All right, cool. That was a great way to kick off the morning. Again, Tuesdays, my favorite day of the week, because we get to do this and spend some time together. Before we bring Brian Friedrichs on, I'm going to play you just a very brief little commercial about the platform we're using here, a sponsor of this show, Restream, and why it might be a great idea for you to put it into your club as well. All right. Again, privateradio.com/restream if you want to learn more. That's a platform that you can get started with absolutely free and get out all the platforms like we are doing right now. So thanks to Restream for sponsoring Private Club Radio here in 2021. And we've got another of our show partners here who do fantastic work all throughout the industry. Brian Friedrichs joins us today, and it's a topic that I think people are going to really enjoy. Brian, how are you doing today, man?
Pretty good. How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Living the dream here in Florida.
Yeah, I know. I saw this map of the United States where it's like everywhere except for Florida was like in the negatives. I was like,
I love that. Every year, I love
that.
I know. I even have some friends who are out in Texas, and they're literally on the beaches of Texas, and it was snowing, and I was like,
yeah, I've got a lot of family in Texas. They were sending pictures of just like their backyards in snow. And we're like pretty close to Texas up here in Jacksonville, and we're like 72 and beautiful. I'm like, nice. Lucked out on that one.
That's a great thing, man. Yeah. Well, we're going to be chatting today about how to fund your capital projects without assessing the members. And of course, I'm sure every single club out there would love to do that one. So can't wait to hear your ideas. And by the way, if you've got questions throughout this for Brian, please feed them in, and we'll be happy to ask Brian as we go along here. But Brian, take us through this.
Perfect. Yeah, thanks. So one of the things whenever we come into a club, we do an initial strategic plan. And that is learning a little bit about their wish list of capital projects, because it's important. It's important for the club. It's important for the members to see that money's being reinvested back into the club. And it's really important for the sales process and prospects looking at a club to know that, wow, this is a club that's actually moving forward and is doing things and is moving with trends. Listening to some of the things you and Jackie were talking about, those are huge to get out into the market. Those are great things that add incredible value to the club. But sometimes even the things like simulators, they cost some money. And if you don't have a good capital reserve, a lot of clubs will look at taking out debt, or the really bad word, assessing members. And we all know, all general managers, all COOs know, that's like the last thing you want to ever do is assess the membership. Right. Because you get into that downward spiral. You start losing some members because maybe they were on the fence and they get hit with even a couple $100 assessment. They're like, you know what, let's just drop this membership. And so if you can fund those, capital projects without assessing members and without taking on massive debt, you're going to set your club up for success. So one of the things we like to do is create a wish list of capital projects, right? Whether it's a simulator or maybe some cart paths or adding a new fitness center, whatever it may be. Create a budget for them. Hey, what is it going to be? And then kind of backpedal and figure out, okay, how many memberships do we need to sell to hit that? And if you do it appropriately, you can leverage that very hard in the market with, hey, here's what we're doing in the future. We're going to put a brand new fitness center up. Here's the renderings of it. Or I'll give you an example. We're working with a client here locally. And one of the things they needed to do was do outdoor dining. They didn't have any outdoor dining. So we said, all right, what if we created a budget? If we hit 100 memberships and we bring in X amount of dollars in initiation fees, will you break ground on this outdoor dining, incredible outdoor dining space? And they said, yeah. So we got renderings. Now we're getting it out to the current membership base, which they're ecstatic about. Soon we'll be getting it out into the marketplace, where we'll be able to leverage that in the marketplace, and we'll be able to gradually creep up initiation fees as we do it. So it creates a really, really good dynamic in your current membership, and it creates a really, really good dynamic in the marketplace with prospective members. And something pretty simple to do, actually.
I got to imagine it's a great way to get the membership also excited about referring again, right? Yeah. Like you haven't,
definitely.
You've kind of gone to that well a few times, but now you can say, hey, it's either we, there's a few ways to get to skin a cat, but the best way is to bring in new members. You might light a fire under them, right?
No doubt. Exactly right. And so, and you hit the nail on the head. It does a couple different things. Whenever you set this plan, it's got to be very clear cut. It has to be done appropriately. There has to be some really, clearly defined planning associated with it. And really important too, is you have to be collecting initiation fees, because the initiation fees are really what's going to fund those projects, right? Yeah. And when clubs, I see it so often, they drop their initiation fees because they want to get more traction. Well, ultimately it's hurting the club, right? You can't fund your capital projects. It doesn't keep people in the club as long because they don't have as much skin in the game. So that's why we truly, truly believe in the importance of getting at least $5,000 at your club for an initiation fee.
I'm right there with you, because it's like it's that perceived value in the marketplace, right? Like if you can get it for free, and like you said, not having any skin in the game, then it's so easy to just drop that as another expense. But if you've got skin in the game, if the community as a whole see that, hey, there's value to this membership, that's so important. And I'm right there with you. This is a great question that came in from Eric. How does your team separate obligatory and aspirational capital needs for the clubs that you work with there?
So just to make sure I'm understanding, you're talking about basic infrastructure capital needs as opposed to, lipstick, essentially.
Right. Like, I guess, how do you decide, like, hey, do we really need that simulator, or should we invest that money into the mowing equipment or something like that? How do you go about that survey?
Yeah, I think you have to look at what the club needs most, right? If it's dying for a massive infrastructure renovation, the foundation is falling down, whatever it is, obviously you got to do those things first.
Right.
And sometimes, if it's a massive project like that, unless you're getting, $100,000 plus for an initiation fee, it's going to be hard to raise the capital to do something like that, right?
Yeah, exactly. I try to do something similar, like with my own business, where it's like, hey, here's what I'd love to get accomplished. Here's what should be accomplished probably in the next 90 days, and here's what I got to do right now, immediately.
Yeah.
Anytime you can kind of, what is that called? What do doctors do? It's triage. You got to triage that kind of stuff, right?
Yep.
So, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so that's what we typically do. I mean, for us as membership sales professionals, we obviously want things that we're going to be able to point to, but the infrastructure stuff is important too, right? And we can point to that stuff as well, even though maybe they're not seeing it. They're not seeing new plumbing being run or whatever. That is important that those things are getting done, and that prospects and current members know that those things are getting done too. Because, we worked with Concert Golf on a few projects, and a few of their projects, they put a ton of money into infrastructure things that really prospects and current members didn't see, right? And unless we were able to get that out into the market, it almost looked like not a lot was being done, when actually a ton of stuff, behind the scenes was being done. And that was creating the base of now being able to do the fun stuff, the simulators and the dining rooms and all of that stuff. So I do understand that other stuff is important too, but if you can kind of mix maybe a couple of those together, right, do some infrastructure stuff, and do some stuff that's really going to help your membership sales team sell, I think you can accomplish both things that you need to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, how do you guys go about it? Let's say I've got a capital improvement plan. Maybe we're going to put $1 million or 10 million or 50 million into the club in the next couple of years.
Right.
I would think that that's probably one of the best opportunities to really get people excited, right?
Yeah.
In the marketplace, at least, of potential members. How do you guys go about, or what would you recommend clubs do to sort of let people know what's happening? Do you, I know it's a two-part question, and I apologize.
No, it's all right.
But do you find that telling people like, hey, and before the capital improvements are done, here's our initiation fees, but they're going to be rising after that. What's the strategy that you usually bring to the table there?
Yeah, exactly. We usually do like a ladder step program. So let's just say, for sakes, current initiation fees 10 grand. And we're planning on doing an entire pool remodel, right? Once we hit 50 membership sales, whatever it may be, right? We know that every 10 memberships, we may step it up $1,500 or $2,500 or whatever it may be. And then we really leverage on the market, just like you said, and say, hey, if you're interested in getting in, number one, it's just exciting to be a part of this, right? You see the growth, you see the structure, you start to develop those relationships prior to our new pool or our new fitness center or whatever it may be. But once we do complete it, our initiation fees are going to be higher, and here's our plan, and here's exactly what they're going to look like. And so it really gives the salesperson a lot of leverage at that point to close a sale and get people. It's almost like reverse discounting, right? We don't love discounting at all. We actually want to go the other way. And if you pair these improvements with that type of a tiered up program, it really creates a lot of leverage in the marketplace. And your membership sales professionals, if they're doing it appropriately, will see big success with it. Yeah, That's a great question.
That's fantastic, Brian. Any other tidbits that you've got for folks who are considering doing something like that?
Really, it's just planning. You have to plan it out. You have to be thoughtful in your planning. Again, like what Eric was saying, how do you, figure out your needs versus your wants? So figure that out with your team. Talk to your membership sales director about what they're hearing in the marketplace and what the prospects want, right? Engage your capital improvements to that, because that's really what's going to move the needle, right? Once you plan it out, make sure you have a sales plan, make sure you understand how to market it to the marketplace, and follow that, very closely. If y'all have any questions on it, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to share with you what we've done in the past. and some of the things that have worked for us really, really well.
I love it. Yeah. How do folks go about reaching you, Brian?
Yeah, so my cell phone is 561-445-7448. You can call me directly. My email is also just brian@capstone-hospitality.com, and our website is capstone-hospitality.com. So any of those ways, I'm happy to share whatever I know. And looks like we got another question here.
Yeah, exactly. I wanted before I left you, I thought this was a good question. So, and I'll kind of feed it to you in two ways. First of all, what's your take on refundable initiation fees? I know a lot of clubs recently have been sort of changing their bylaws to remove those. But the question came in here from Eric: how do you factor in refundable initiation fees for clubs that are unfortunately in those boats?
Yeah, honestly, we don't deal a lot with clubs that have currently refundable memberships. So we haven't had to deal with it much. We do sometimes go into clubs where they've had refundable memberships, and we have some strategies of how to get those liabilities off the books as well. Because obviously, if you are, bringing in a lot of initiation fees, but it's going right to the refundability, that's obviously very challenging to get those capital projects done. So, I would look at the bylaws. I think most clubs are moving away from refundable initiation fees now. I don't think people really expect their initiation fee to be refundable. Again, it's so specific to the club. I would have to look at what the club is doing. Is it full-time? Is it full refundable? Is it 80% refundable? And then, you could cater something specific to that. I know that doesn't exactly answer the question, but I think until you look at the individual club, its bylaws, how it's structured, it's hard to give an answer to that.
But you being on the street and all over the country, and you mentioned there, so let me dive into it a little bit deeper. Would you say the consumer is not really considering the fact? It's kind of like I guess it sort of comes back to the way you've got our value system has sort of shifted, right? You've got people who are used to going to Airbnb, and it's kind of like use over ownership type thing, right? What's the the exact term? But you got Airbnb, you've got Uber, you've got all these things. Do you think that in general the sentiment has shifted where people aren't expecting to get their funds back when they leave?
Yeah, honestly, we don't see it, and I've actually seen it looked at as a negative from a potential member's eyes, because they know what has happened in the past with clubs, or they have maybe friends that are members at clubs. Like I just had a good friend of mine reach out to me and said, hey, my parents are a member at XYZ club. I'm not going to name the club. They're trying to get their refundable initiation fee back. They're like number 48 on the wait list. Is there any way that we can, speed that process up? And so I think a lot of prospects are looking at that process of, getting our money back, being on a wait list to get it back. We're tied into the club. I personally think it's better, easier to just say, hey, our initiation fee is $20,000. Our monthly dues are $750 a month. And we can sell that. If you're selling it appropriately, you can get people in to pay a non-refundable initiation fee. Whereas I think it just adds a little bit of confusion to the sales process. If now you have to talk about refundability, now you're trying to collect a $75,000 initiation fee and 50% refundable. Yep. So I would personally steer away from it. That's typically what we advise on.
I'm with you. I think the more the caveats you add into that process, the more people have to think through that and then look at it from an investment perspective. It's not. I mean, the fact of the matter is, a private club membership is not a good investment, right?
No,
it's a horrible choice. If your CPA was giving you advice, it'd be the last thing on the list, right?
Yeah, no question.
So, I'd love to see that continue. I think we're already seeing that shift. But I'd love to see that continue to shift in the industry, because I think the modern day consumer is not, understands, hey, that $20,000 is going to go to a new clubhouse we're building 5 years from now.
Right.
That this is going to this initiation fee is going to fund these capital improvement projects we have planned. And it goes exactly into how we started here. That creating that buzz and selling people into that future for the club is really the strongest way to build a membership. And I think
yeah, it really is. And if you frame it up appropriately, right, you can get people to buy into that. No problem. We've sold against a lot of clubs that had like, some old school equity clubs that do have refundable. And 9 times out of 10, we're able to get them with initiation fee because you just talk about the history of it. And so again, I think it is a negative perception in the marketplace. It's funny whenever you said about the financial, it doesn't make any financial sense. Through our training, we always train that, hey, this is an emotional decision. This is a lifestyle enhancement product.
Right.
This does not make any financial sense at all. So if you are trying to sell some sort of a financial gain with a membership, maybe the networking, right? That's maybe a financial gain.
The way our government's printing money right now, the 20,000 you put into initiation fee is going to be worth about 2 when you're done, anyways, right?
Yeah, a whole nother topic there.
We'll have to get the guys from the club board professionals back in to chat about that one. But man, I enjoyed the chat. I always enjoyed chatting with you, Brian. Definitely check it out. Capstone. It's capstone-hospitality.com is the actual website. Of course, I'll throw that link in the show notes if you're listening to the podcast here. But thanks for joining us here on Private Club Radio Live, Brian. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Gabe. Much appreciated. Look forward to next time.
All right, guys. And we hope to see you back here next Tuesday at 10 a.m. Be ready with your questions. We've got another expert willing to share and answer all of your questions. So I'll see you back here. Until then, here's to your memberships.